Ever since I watched Fighter, I have been wondering if my grandfather was alive and seen this film, what would he have thought of it? He was in the Indian Air Force. That's him. He was not a pilot, he was an engineer in the force, but nonetheless, his perspective on this film would have been priceless. By the end of this video, I should get a vague idea of it, but for now, let's dissect Fighter. To those who are expecting that this should be strictly a fighter review and must not be compared to any other film such as one obvious point of reference, that is Top Gun Maverick, kindly fuck off.
गजब बेइज्जती है.
First of all, it's not a review, it's my opinion, and I don't expect any of you to make a decision to watch this film based on my opinion. And secondly, as it's my opinion and my channel, I will compare it to whichever film I want.
I'll do what I want, when I want, to whomever I want.
To make my point. And before you fuck off, just for consolation's sake, Fighter is a decent film. And that doesn't mean I will not bash it. Okay, now you can fuck off. To those who are still here, this movie has quite a few why was that not possible moments.
Why isn't it possible? It's just not. Why not, you stupid?
That were frustrating and would have made this movie much better. And we will get to it. But first, let's start with the big relief. Finally, it was a relief to watch a big Masi film without hero worship. I was beginning to believe that it was impossible for these buggers to sell a film without displaying a prefix to the actor's name. So what have we got? Superstars, rebel star, stylish star, rocking star, mega star, power star, mega power star, Thalapati, Chiya, Ulaganayagan, and the list goes on and on and on. Now this practice is very specific to the southern film industry. It suits them and their movie culture. But of course, Bollywood will copy anything that works and force it upon themselves. Sadly, last year we lost Ranbir Kapoor to the Superstar Hall of Shame with the marketing of Animal, but thankfully, Hrithik is still maintaining his class. I think he still believes that first he is an actor and then a star, and it reflects in his performance and treatment of his character in Fighter. Also, for a change, our defense forces were handled respectfully, unlike last year's Jawan, Pathan, Tiger and similar shit biscuits. NSG commandos were not portrayed as buffoons and paraded naked, or spies were not simping over hot ladies to get honey-trapped and screwed over. And most importantly, the success of every mission didn't entirely depend on one man's fart force. That one man who enters with the winds of fart for fans to sniff on and go apeshit. The winds of fart that blows away a dozen goons into oblivion. The winds of fart so loud it's often mistaken as background score. The winds of fart our heroine sighs in for relief. The winds of fart every fucking character right from a street beggar to the antagonist's henchmen provide build up to. This has not been overdone in the film. But they did it once in the beginning, in the first 10 minutes, and it was cringe as fuck. The build-up to Hrithik's entry was cringy, and the stunt he performs with his plane itself felt forced and unnecessary. For instance, in Maverick, yeah, here it comes, where Tom Cruise's character breaks Mach 10 speed, that entire scene in Maverick had a purpose to it, and with that purpose, Tom Cruise's character, Captain Pete Michel, is also established. And with this comparison comes the first why was that not possible moment of the film.
Why isn't it possible? It's just not. Why not, you stupid?
When throughout the film Hrithik's character Shamsher Pathania aka Patty was treated with subtlety, why was his entry not treated the same way? Why was that not possible?
It's just not. Why?
I liked that scene after the interval. On Patty's first day as an instructor, he guides an anxious trainee pilot to make a safe landing in difficult conditions. I immediately thought to myself, why wasn't this scene used as Patty's intro, and then the movie could have gone back unraveling the events that led to Force's best pilot being demoted to instructor. That intro would have been purposeful, intriguing, subtle, and would have established Patty as an expert pilot. But what do I know? Still, Fighter is better than the films released in the recent past. The films that are all about this one hero who enters the frame with the winds of fart. I swear it's getting exhausting. In fact, in Fighter, the character arc of Patty begins with him showing fancy stunts, going for personal glory, acting overconfident and expecting the same extraordinary performance from his teammates which they are evidently not capable of. I mean, everything expected from a typical masala film hero is exactly what's shown as problematic with Patty. But although the film clearly sets up in the first half that Patty needs to be a team player, the payoff of this setup is a bit underwhelming. As if midway, the makers completely forgot what character arc they were going for, and in the end, they resort to the cliche of protagonist being the sole savior. Well, kind of. Because in the end, Patty's ass was saved a couple of times by his friend Taj, played by Karan Singh Grover. Also, Patty was guided by his group captain Rocky Jai Singh, played by Anil Kapoor. Yet in the end, Patty's individual performance confirms their victory. Patty's character arc was not as satisfying as, let's say, Komal Chautala's arc. Remember Chak De India? Striker Komal Chautala, talented, egoistic, overconfident and always lusting for personal glory. She gives all that up for Team India in the finals, turning her character into a team player. A satisfying completion of her arc. Although Fighter begins with something similar, but it fails to end it with the same conviction. In fact, this entire arc was royally screwed when Rocky, their group captain, accepted that he was wrong about Patty all along and rather blamed himself for being harsh on him. Why film? Why did you do this after you set yourself to go for something much more powerful? Why was a scene where Patty finally wins Rocky's trust to be considered as a team player by performing an act of self-sacrifice not possible? Why was that not possible?
Why not, you stupid?
Usually, I don't even peep into the reviews before forming my opinion, but as I was doing my research on the film, the first thing that popped up was this. And this huge gap on Rotten Tomatoes made me curious and I jumped into the rabbit hole of reviews and opinions. The film was not that bad at all. So what made critics go mad at this film? I will summarize the bullshit for you that has nothing to do with film criticism.
Don't trouble the trouble. If you trouble the trouble, trouble troubles you. I'm not the trouble. I'm the truth.
These critics are mad at Fighter because the film claims that India owns Kashmir and POK. They are mad at it because they think that Fighter is covering up India's intelligence failure at the time of Pulwama attack. They are mad at it because the film shows that the Balakot airstrikes were a success, although in real world, Pakistan claims that no such thing happened. Then there are paras that go on and on about the claims of Satyapal Malik, who was Kashmir's governor at the time. And I was like, what the fuck is going on?
What the fuck is going on here?
Are these people really film critics? The same thing happened when Animal was released. And in my Animal review, I was very clear. You want to glorify toxic masculinity? Do it.
Do it!
Push an agenda? Do it.
Just do it!
Cash in on current nationalist sentiments?
For God's sake, do it!
But it better be a good film. These so-called movie critics are saying that War and Pathan were better films than Fighter. What the fuck?
What the fuck is going on here?
War and Pathan were dog shit. One of the critics even went on and wrote that Roshan is no Khan. Another wrote that Hrithik Roshan crying is not the same as Shah Rukh Khan crying. It was shocking to me how a film critic can stoop so low and judge an actor's performance on the basis of his popularity and fandom. And if we are down to that comparison, let me say it out loud that Hrithik Roshan in Fighter, hands down, gave a better performance than Shah Rukh Khan in Pathan. And now I understand why Sandeep Reddy Vanga was pissed off at all the critics. By the way, I still stand by what I said in my Animal movie rant. I hated Animal, not the entire film, but the second half. And the reasons for that are different from these critics. But anyways, in the case of Fighter, more than 50% of their movie reviews are not even about the movie. It's storytelling, it's character, music, editing or cinematography. Why can't these critics just critique a film for what it is? Why is that not possible?
It's just not. Why not, you stupid bastard?
And there's one more thing most of the critics didn't like. That's the antagonist of Fighter who is being compared to John Abraham's character from Pathan. Fighter's antagonist is an obvious letdown, but I will defend this conscious choice to show the antagonist as a one-tone evil terrorist. Now, what is an antagonist? The biggest hurdle a protagonist faces. But in Fighter, this one-tone villain is not the biggest hurdle. In Fighter, the biggest enemy of our protagonist Patty is Patty himself. The mistakes he made in the past, his cockiness, his ego, his overconfidence, his superiors' lack of trust in him. At least on paper, these are the real enemies, the real hurdles our hero is set to face. I mean, look at Maverick. Maverick didn't even have an antagonist, and it's altogether a different topic that how these hurdles are treated in Fighter. I will say, not that well. In this regard, I have already made my point why Patty's arc was not satisfying. But my point is that Fighter is not a typical hero versus villain film. They just needed someone handsome with a chiseled body to go up against Hrithik in a hand-to-hand combat for a final showdown. And hence, this villain was shoehorned into the film and consciously given minimal screen time and weight to this character. Then the right question to ask is that why even bother to put in such a character? The film could have gone Maverick way by not having a villain at all. Why was that not possible?
No, God! No, God, please, no! No!
I have a problem with shoehorned romantic subplots. And the same happens in Fighter, and it does the biggest disservice to its story, especially Patty's character. And I was fine with it until that particular soundtrack Dil Banane Wale came into picture, right after Patty is posted as an instructor in the second half. Man, oh man, it starts off with a lot of weight on Patty. Because of his mistake, his bad decision, his friends and comrades Taj and Bashi are now prisoners in Pakistan. As a direct result of which, he has been posted as an instructor. That means he can't do shit about the situation despite being the best pilot in the force. So there's guilt and helplessness. On top of it, he is not even getting to serve his country to his full potential. The situation where you fuck up with your life's purpose. There's already enough to feel bad about his situation, but for some reason at that point, the film decides to showcase Patty's separation from Minnie, played by Deepika Padukone, as one of the main reasons he is sad about. Fuck no. That should have been the least of his concerns. What do you think they are? College lovebirds who are dealing with long distance relationship? What the fuck is wrong with you, film? You start off great with everything and then you piss over it. Why couldn't you keep their lovey-dovey relationship at bay when there were more important stakes in play? Why was that not possible?
Why isn't it possible? It's just not. Why not, you stupid
I have my complaints with Fighter. The first half an hour or so has cringe interactions between the squad members. I understand it was necessary to build their bond so that the audience feels bad for them at the time of high-stakes situations. It's frustrating why it wasn't done in a better way because quite clearly, the writers were capable of it. From these bond-building interactions, we got Patty's "Please Smile," which is a running joke in the film. I thought it will never rise above its purpose, but to my surprise, it had a beautiful, heart-touching payoff when Patty asks Taj's wife, Sachi, to trust him to bring back Taj from Pakistan. That please packed a punch. For the first time in the film, Patty meant it. He says it while shedding tears, yet trying hard to win Sachi with his signature "Please Smile." It's hard to explain. You'll have to watch the scene to appreciate Hrithik Roshan's performance in it. And it's frustrating because when writers had it in them to create such wonderful moments, then why were other interactions not handled to the same effect? The to and fro dialogue-bazi during action sequences felt forced, out of place and needless. It felt like writers got a memo that every attack or punch from the hero or villain must be accompanied with sledging. Probably lack of these dialogues would have pleased the so-called movie critics as well. I bet the ratings would have gone up to Pathan level if they would have used imaginary names of the events instead of Balakot and Pulwama, and toned down on dialogues such as "Kashmir ke Malik hum hai."
Malik hum!
I kid you not, the same critics have praised "Thank You for Coming" on Rotten Tomatoes. This unredeemable piece of shit floating in the vomit of cringe has a 79% fresh rating. No wonder film criticism has become a joke. Coming back to Fighter, it was frustrating because every once in a while the film shows a moment of brilliance and then it goes back to its mediocre self. They handled Deepika Padukone's subplot beautifully. Her character arc was flat, but her relationship with her parents had an arc. Although predictable, it reached a satisfying conclusion. And on the other hand, Patty's arc was screwed up. The conclusion to his relationship with Rocky Jai Singh almost made me stand up and call foul. And again, overall the soundtracks are good, but that dance number Sher Khul Gaye, damn, it felt so out of place. I thank God that Ishq Jaisa Kuch soundtrack was not part of the film, else this video essay would have tipped towards a movie rant. So at this point, I have analyzed Fighter enough to make an assumption about what my grandfather, an ex-Air Force officer, would have thought of the film. Oh, he would have hated it so much. It's a safe assumption because he didn't like border either. Probably a documentary with actual war footage would have been the only way to please him. Can't really blame a person who witnessed partition and battles firsthand. It will be naive to think he will be amazed by a movie on it. But I know someone who would have enjoyed the film like no other. My grandma. Oh, she was a movie buff. And I would have loved to watch Fighter with her. Ha, I wish.